Hi! Okay, so I wanted to make this video mostly because I didn't want to give a live presentation about this subject. Just because it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff doesn't mean that we shouldn't. And it's actually really important that we do start talking about it more regularly and try and take away that awkward kind of feeling around it. So my main project is talking about period management. So just how people with periods go about dealing with that every single month. That brings into the subject of like pads and tampons and other collection methods, along with, the normal hormonal and symptomatic stuff. I'll talk more about the menstrual cycle and all that entails later. A lot can go wrong in the female reproductive system. It's a very complex series of organs, and just like you can have heart disease, you can have issues with your uterus. So I'm going to talk about those kind of illnesses, mostly endometriosis. Disclaimer. Even though I'm going to be saying female reproductive system over and over again to the point that you're probably going to get tired of it, this isn't something completely restricted to females. There are women that don't have these organs, and there are men and other people that do. This isn't just a woman's issue. This is a biological anatomy issue. Let's go back. What is the female reproductive system that I've been talking about? The female reproductive system is a group of organs specifically tasked with reproduction and sexual health. So we're going to be talking about the uterus, we're going to be talking about the ovaries, we're going to be talking about the fallopian tubes, and we're going to be talking about vaginas, even if that word is so gross to some people. Okay, so we got the anatomy, we got what it looks like. Let's talk about the menstrual cycle. It's basically this month-long process that the reproductive system goes through that is marked by the first day of the period and the first day of the next period. So, like an action movie, it starts and ends with blood. During the cycle, there are changing levels of estrogen and progesterone, naturally occurring hormones within the body. These differing levels cause the symptoms of the period, like mood swings and cramps and all the fun stuff that we all hate. All of us meaning the people who experience them, not to exclude you men. Irregularities in this cycle can help signal that there's something wrong going on. So, like all complex organ systems, the reproductive system can have some issues. One complication that can happen is endometriosis. This is when tissue that usually belongs inside the uterus starts showing up other places. And it's not enough of an issue to just have weird tissue in places that it doesn't belong. But when the period comes around, just like the tissue within the uterus, the tissue outside that is supposed to be inside will start bleeding and causing a lot of pain for the person who experiences this. This can happen anywhere within the abdomen or pelvic region, but a lot of times people don't think that they have this illness. They just think it's period cramps and it's completely normal. This disease can only be diagnosed through surgery, so the diagnosis rate is extremely low. The symptoms can be debilitating and chronic, often lasting a lifetime. The illness is usually treated through oral contraception to help regulate the hormones that would cause the symptoms. Otherwise, it's usually treated through invasive surgery and sometimes a removal of the uterus or ovaries. It can cause infertility and painful penetrative sex. Aren't you glad that I'm talking about this over a video now instead of in front of you? For people with insurance, either option is really open to them. A lot of people will opt to use the pill instead of the surgery so they can maintain everything in case they want kids. But if you don't have insurance, it can be difficult to even get the pill, let alone do the surgery. Because you need the money for the doctor's appointment, you need money for refills, and if you do the surgery, you have mounds of medical bills, and you need a place to rest afterwards. But who does this affect? The Women's Health Organization says that between 3 to 10% of women of reproductive age are diagnosed with endometriosis. Now, this is a weird statistic because 3 to 10 is a really big gap. But like I said earlier, it doesn't get diagnosed unless it is through surgery. Now, a liberal estimation of all the homeless people in King County is 12,500 people. This is probably low because of the way that the statistic is taken, only glancing down an alleyway to see if people are living there. But this is the stat we have, so we're gonna go with it. So assume that half of those people are women. 50% is a close enough mark for people who would be experiencing menstruation. Give or take some trans men, non-binary people not accounted for, and some women above or below the reproductive age. Gets us at about 50%. It's not exact, but it's what we have. 50% of 12,500 would be 6,250 people. Now, 10% of that, 625. Sorry for all the math. I know we're not in a STEM class, but bear with me. Now, 625 people doesn't feel like a lot, especially when we're talking about homelessness, and those numbers are usually up in the thousands. But to give some perspective, there are 648 law students at Seattle University, and there are 700 international studies majors. But what do we do? It's kind of hard if you're not a practicing medical professional, even though some of you might become that, to do anything about an issue like this. It helps to know that it's happening. I hope that this presentation might give a bit more light to an issue that doesn't get talked about very much. Even if it's only for a moment, you hold it in your mind. We need to work on getting more responsive female reproductive health resources. Planned Parenthood does a lot to help with people at low income or without insurance. And if you want to support them, you can just buy some Girl Scout cookies. But if you just want to give money, that's also fine. I think they'll take that too. Thank you for listening. I'll give Wes my sources, and if you have any questions, I'll be in the class anyway. So, thanks for listening.